please call the roll?
Thank you, Mr. President. Division 7, Gary Van Dam.
Here.
Division 6, Audrey Miller.
Here.
Division 5, Robert Paris.
Here.
Division 4, George Lane. Division 1, Shelley Sourceable.
Here.
Division 3, Frank Donato.
Here.
Division 2, Keith Dias.
Here.
Dwayne Chisholm.
Here.
Tilden Kim.
Here.
Holly Hughes present, and George Lane. Are you present, George Lane? George Lane is present.
Thank you very much. Item number 3. Do I have a motion to adopt the agendas tonight?
Mr. President, this is Rob. I move we adopt the agenda.
Thank you.
This is Shelley. I'll second.
Thank you. Roll call vote, please.
Gary Van Dam.
Yes.
Audrey Miller.
Yes.
Robert Paris.
Yes.
George Lane. Shelley Sourceable.
Yes.
Frank Donato.
Yes.
Keith Dias.
Yes, the measure passes. We've adopted tonight's agenda. Item 4, public comments and period open to public. If anyone wishes to address the board on any item not on the agenda, please feel free to do so now. Hearing none, we'll move along to item 4A, voluntary public roll call. If any member of the public wishes to introduce themselves, please feel free to do so now.
John Joyce,
good evening,
reporting for the communities of Roseman and Lake Los Angeles and Acton.
Good evening, this is Jack
and
Cephas, White Fence Farms number 3.
Hello, Jack.
Hi. I will now go on mute.
Thank you.
Vincent Dino, Palmdale Water District.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Hello, Jack. I'm George Lane.
Any others? Item 5, consent calendar. Do I have a motion to approve the consent calendar?
This is Director Miller. I'll move to approve the consent calendar.
Thank you.
This is Frank. I'll second it.
Thank you. Roll call vote, please.
Gary Van Dam.
Yes.
Audrey Miller.
Yes.
Robert Paris.
Yes.
George Lane. Shelley Sourceable.
Yes.
Frank Donato.
Yes.
Keith Dias.
Yes, the measure passes. Thank you. Item 6A, Finance Committee. Director Donato, do you have a report?
Yes, we do. So Finance Committee met yesterday and we discussed these items that are in front of you, and I believe that Operation Manager John Bozigian is going to be giving a presentation.
Good evening, everyone. So what we have before us tonight are 2 purchase orders that we'd like your approval for. The first one is regarding a capital asset replacement project, ER 21-01, and that is a Quartz Hill backwash pump, 100 horsepower pump. We've sent out requests for proposals to 4 pump companies, and after about a month of phone calls and prodding, we got 2 back. One was from Farm Pump and Irrigation, and that was for $48,721.82. And the other one was Bakersfield Well and Pump, $68,638. We did budget $110,000 for this, as we weren't sure. We've never had one of these backwash pumps out, and we weren't sure if it was going to take a full replacement or just a rebuild. Farm Pump and Irrigation is pretty confident that it can be rebuilt. So that we would ask that their proposal of $48,721.82 be approved. And we have one, I'll go with the next one too. We have one purchase order for both of these because the same company was the low bid. The second project, ER21-08, is a 450 horsepower central feed pump, and that takes water from the Roseman treatment plant and pumps it up to the Mojave Tank Farm, about a 300 plus foot lift. We've already done 3 of these pumps over the last several years. We're pretty confident what it takes to rebuild them. So we budgeted, $70,000. We took the highest price over the last few years of what it costs to rebuild one of these pumps, added about a 10% escalator. That's how we came up with our budget amount. And Farm Pump and Irrigation came in at $59,455.69. Bakersfield Well and Pump came in at $75,000. So with that being said, we would ask that you approve the purchase order written to Farm Pump and Irrigation of Shafter for a total of $108,177.51 for both of those items.
Do I have a motion?
This is Frank. I move on the board orders. Can I do both of them? 6A1 and 6A2 or not? 6A1, I'm sorry. I know. I got to do 6A1. I move.
Okay.
I'll second. This is Shelley.
Thank you. Any more questions or discussion?
Yeah, Director Van Dam. John, what's a warranty on that rebuild?
Well, a warranty is typically 1 year.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Any more questions? Could we have a roll call vote, please?
Gary Van Dam,
Yes.
Audrey Miller,
Yes.
Robert Paris,
Yes.
George Lane,
Yes.
Shelley Sorsable,
Yes.
Donato,
Yes.
Keith Dice.
Yes, carried. Thank you very much. Next item.
Okay, the next item is another capital project, ER21-19. We went over this pretty in depth with Finance Committee, so I'll kind of just hit the high points tonight. The west feeder begins at 170th Street West and about Avenue H. And to pull water out of the aqueduct to get into the west feeder, there is a 60-inch slide gate. It's a big cast iron gate in the side of the aqueduct that raises and lowers to let water in. It's either open or closed. It's not a flow control type gate. This has been in service for, well, since the mid-70s, and it is currently stuck in about 95% closed position. We had our valve expert go out there and check it out, and there were 2 choices. It was either put a coffer dam in the aqueduct so we could dewater it so he could see what was wrong with it, or he could fabricate some stop logs and put them in existing slots. And he was able to do that. He was able to stop the flow, go down there, see what was wrong with it. Unfortunately, the parts that need to be replaced are obsolete, and he would have to machine these parts to get this valve back into working order. So with the stopping the flow of water and with the repair, the total, we budgeted $50,000 for this complete repair. And this is also replacing the electronic actuator that raises and lowers it. We budgeted $50,000 with what the proposal is. which is $39,856.65. With what's already been expended, we're going to be about $15,000 over budget on this project. But we'll bring another project probably in a month, and that's to repair the downstream valve of this. There's two valves in a row, they're about 200 feet apart. And we thought it was going to be about $110,000 to do the second one. And our valve expert has found a way to do it for probably $40,000 to $50,000. So we're going to save quite a bit on that second project that we'll be bringing to you. So with that being said, we would ask that you would approve the purchase order to R&B Automation in the amount of $39,856.65 to get this valve in working order.
This is Frank. I'll move on board order 6A2 that we approve the dollar amount of not to exceed $39,856.65.
This is Shelley. I'll second.
Could we have a roll call vote, please?
Gary Van Dam,
Yes.
Audrey Miller,
Yes.
Robert Paris,
Yes.
George Lane,
Yes.
Shelley Sourceable,
Yes.
Frank Donato,
Yes.
Keith Dias.
Yes, the measure.
That concludes.
Santa Clara area of Northern California. This term sheet is for a pilot banking program. And I'll start off with a little bit of background and what the objectives of the short-term banking program is with Santa Clara or Valley. Staff have been talking with Santa Clara Valley Water Agency or Water District, and they have a lot of interest in developing a long-term partnership with AVAC and banking with AVAC, utilizing the AVAC and Metropolitan Water District model that we developed for the High Desert Water Bank. And we thought as an interim, we could do a pilot program similar to what we did with Metropolitan back in 2015, where we banked 30,000 acre feet on behalf of Metropolitan Water District in the West Side Water Bank. So there's interest from Valley of following that same model. And the objectives of the pilot program that's outlined in the term sheet is to demonstrate the feasibility of storing Valley Water's Table A water through the State Water Project, their supply in AVAC's West Side Water Bank, and then in a future year, return that water to Valley Water District via an exchange of AVAC's Table A water. So the proposed terms of the pilot program, which is included in your board packet on page 42, is the proposed term sheet. But in summary, it would allow 15,000 acre feet of Valley's water to be delivered to AVAC, and we would store that water and bank it in the West Side Water Bank. And this is all subject to AVAC's operational capacity to take delivery of that water. So there's no guarantee that we have to take in any given year. Our existing customer needs come first, and AVAC's banking needs come first before we schedule and take delivery of Valley water supply. It would be delivered via the East Branch of the California Aqueduct. And then within 5 years, AVAC would return 13,500 acre feet. That takes into account the 10% loss through the banking process and leave behind. So they would deliver 15,000 acre feet. AVAC would be responsible for returning 13,500 acre feet. So as far as revenues for the agencies and costs associated with this, Valley Water would be responsible for the variable cost of delivering the 15,000 acre feet. That's roughly $3 million in avoided expense that AVAC will benefit from, because again, Valley Water will pay for that delivery here. It'll be banked and stored in the Westside Water Bank, and that net amount is 13,500 acre feet that would belong to Valley Water District. But because we would return the water via an exchange of AVAC's table A, we would take the ownership of the 13,500. So that's how we net $3 million in avoided expense by not paying for the delivery of that water. And then once we complete the return to Valley Water, Valley Water would pay $100 per acre foot in 2020 dollars. Depending on when that's returned, it would be escalated based on the CPI. And that would net the agency at 2020 dollars, $1.35 million when we return the 13,500 acre feet to Valley Water. So both the Delta Conveyance Committee and Negotiations Committee and staff are recommending that the board approve the term sheet on page 42 of your agenda packet and authorize the general manager to execute the necessary agreements to fulfill the terms of the term sheet. And with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions for Matt? Could we have a motion then?
Mr. President, this is Rob. I move approval of board order number 6B1.
This is Frank. I'll second it.
Any more questions or discussion? Roll call vote, please.
Gary Van Dam,
Yes.
Audrey Miller,
Yes.
Robert Paris,
Yes.
George Lane,
Yes.
Shelley Sourceable,
Yes.
Frank Donato,
Yes.
Dias.
Yes. The motion passes. Next item, please.
Item 6B2, consideration and possible action on willing agreement with Boron Community Service District. And General Manager Matt Knudsen will have a presentation for us on this.
All right. Well, thank you for the promotion. I'm still the assistant manager.
Oh, sorry.
Okay.
Today you're the guy.
Okay, thank you. Good evening again. So we'll start with a little overview exhibit to give everybody a frame of reference as to where this is before we start talking about what the wheeling agreement includes. So what you have here is an exhibit of AVAC's existing water system. You can see the blue line running east-west. That's AVAC's existing, what we call the north feeder, that runs in parallel to Highway 58. This is out towards the community of Boron and Desert Lakes. You can see the red vertical line, that is AVAC's easterlymost boundary that butts up next to San Bernardino County. On the north, you can see kind of the white area. That's where the borax mine is, the U.S. borax operation, just north of Highway 58. And then you can see there's a gap between AVAC's existing north feeder and the other AVAC system, which is labeled as AVAC AFRL feeder. That runs north-south to the south. That goes up to the area that needs service, and that's the Edwards Air Force Research Lab. So a little bit of background. In 2006 or 1996, AVAC and Boron CSD entered into an agreement to wheel water through Boron CSD's water system. Go back to the map. That's just their water system is not shown on the map, but it encompasses that gap between the blue lines that are owned and operated by AVAC. So from 1996 through 2008, AVAC supplied on average about 175 acre feet per year to the research lab. And then they ceased operation in 2008. And since that time, no deliveries have been made to the research lab. And therefore, we did not have a wheeling agreement with Boron CSD to compensate them for utilizing their water system to move AVAC supply from the north feeder to the research lab site. Recently, the Air Force Base requested AVAC commence water service to the research lab. And as John Bozigan has reported in the past, we've been upgrading the pump station and chlorine feed system associated with resuming service to the research lab. So we've been working with Boron on negotiating a new wheeling agreement, and the proposed terms of that agreement, which is included in your packet on page 48, it would be effective from April 1st, 2021 through May 31st, 2031, or if the research lab, Air Force Base, decide to cut off service or no longer need service, the wheeling agreement would terminate at that time if it's before 2031. Deliveries will not exceed an average of 2 acre feet per day, and that's based on the prior agreement from 1996. Boron CSD is requesting a $3,000 per month flat fee, and that would increase $100 per month for every consecutive year, capped at $4,000 per month. So for example, the first year would be $3,000 per month, the second year would be $3,100 per month, and so on up to $4,000 max. All the expenses and costs associated with the wheeling agreement will be recouped by Edwards Air Force Base under their existing water service agreement. So there's no financial impact to the agency. It's simply a pass-through cost. So both the committee and staff are recommending that the board approve the wheeling agreement with Boron CSD. That's included in your packet on page 48, and then authorize the general manager to execute that same agreement. So that's all I have, and unless any directors have any questions.
This is Shelley. I have a question. I have a question on the math. Can you go back to the previous screen? The math, I'm sorry, on the how much it increases every year or month. Okay. Yeah. Okay, so on the proposed wheeling agreement, it says $3,000 per month, increased $100 per month for every successive 12-month period. So does that mean it goes up? It's going to be $3,100 per month for 12 months?
Yeah, so that's a good question. So for the first full 12-month period in April 1st of this year, it's going to be fixed at $3,000 per month. And then next April, April 1st, 2022, it will go up to $3,100 per month for that next consecutive 12-month period. And then it'll go up to $3,200 per month for the next, and so on.
Okay, I just wanted to clarify that, so thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
I'll move to approve item 6B2.
Thank you. Do we have a second?
This is Frank. I'll go and second it.
Any more discussion? Could we have a roll call vote, please?
Gary Van Dam,
Yes.
Audrey Miller,
Yes.
Robert Garrett,
Yes.
George Lane,
Yes.
Kelly Sourceable,
Yes.
Frank Donato,
Yes.
Keith Dias.
Yes, the motion carries. Thank you very much.
That concludes my report.
Thank you, Director Sourceball. Item 6C, Capital Improvement Program Committee. Again, Director Donato, do you have a report?
Yeah, we do. We discussed this on great lengths. And I'm going to have Justin give us a PowerPoint presentation on what is being done and what's regarding the bid. Nicholas went in the bid.
Okay, thank you, Director Donato. Good evening, President Dias and members of the board. As Director Donato mentioned, we discussed these items with the committee last Thursday, and these are all related to the West Side Water Bank Recharge Pipeline Improvement Project. Just to get everyone oriented here, I've got a map. The lower section here, this shows where our Quartz Hill Water Treatment Plant is located. The West Side Water Bank is out here in the west, 140th Street West and Avenue B. This here is our SNP pipeline, which runs to the north to the Kern County system, as well as to the south to a pump station and turnout for LA County Waterworks at 80th Street West and Avenue H. And this is the SNP connector pipeline that connects that West Side Water Bank into that system. Zooming in on the West Side Water Bank itself, you can see an aerial image here. You can see some of the recharge basins on the map. And I just thought it would be helpful to go through some of the previous work that we've done at the West Side Water Bank. So the previous improvements will come in here. We started in 2010. We installed what we called at that time the WSSP2 turnout. As you probably remember, the original name of the project was the Water Supply Stabilization Project 2. So that was installed here into our west feeder line, which takes raw water to the Roseman Water Treatment Plant and runs right along 140th Street West, just right through the middle of the property. So that turnout was installed so that we could begin getting water out onto the ground when the project was first conceived. So as you probably remember, it was sort of a pilot project at the time, kind of an innovative storage project in the Antelope Valley. So there were a lot of unknowns when we began that. In 2012, as we saw that project was, going to be a viable project that was going to provide for long-term storage in the Antelope Valley, and we decided to install the SNP connector pipeline 2012. So that would bring future recovered surface water from the water bank to the SNP pipeline shown on this map, but was on the previous one for delivery to our other service area in Kern County and Los Angeles County. Also in 2012, we installed the storage and treatment facilities, the first storage tank on that site that would store the recovered surface water. And we began drilling wells. So we started with 9 wells at that location that were drilled and equipped in the 2012 to 2013 timeframe. So we had to get the recovered water from those wells to the storage tank. So then we installed what we called the phase 1 well recovery pipelines in 2013. And then a second storage tank on that site. 2015, 2016 timeframe, we drilled 2 more wells on kind of the northwestern portion of the site. Of course, we had to get that recovered water back to the storage facilities as well. So, I jumped ahead. So we installed another pipeline to bring that recovered well water back to the storage tanks as well. We also began using agricultural well water from this same well field to bring that water to the Roseman treatment plant to be treated as surface water as a THM control strategy for our Kern County system. And so at the same time, we installed a recovery pipeline, this would pop up, in 2017 to bring some of the agricultural well water, this is the green line now here, it sort of parallels the other pipeline that would deliver that water back to our west feeder to send out to the Roseman Water Treatment Plant. So quite a bit of work has been done just at that site, not including the SNP turnout at 80th and H, the SNP North Pump Station, or the SNP pipeline itself. And these improvements here that I just went through total up to about $45 million. So it's made quite an investment out there. And as we know, in years like this, dry years and possibly future dry years, we're going to rely heavily on this storage program. The committee brought up a good point when we were discussing some of these facilities, and thought the board ought to know or be reminded about the contribution that the Willow Springs Water Bank made to some of these facilities. So the Willow Springs Water Bank invested about $11.1 million towards the construction costs for the second storage tank, the SNP connector pipeline, and the 80th and H pump station. And recently, they just provided their final payment towards that contribution and closed out the remaining open balance with the final payment of $2.8 million back to Avek. So the current project that we're talking about is, it's going to be efficiency and longevity of the bank. Currently, we've got these kind of octopus-looking structures. I've got a close-up on the next slide. But we run lengths of above-ground aluminum piping along here from those octopus-type structures out into the recharge basins to bank that water. And over the time, many of those pipelines have needed replacement because they're aging, they're out in the sun. This was never intended on being a long-term solution for the West Side Water Bank. And as a matter of fact, buried pipelines were discussed as being the permanent solution in the CEQA document when that was adopted back during that time frame. So a maintenance headache as well, things piling up and pipes leaking, gaskets leaking at the joints, pinholes developing in the pipes. You can see where they leak. A lot of brush grows around there. This is one of those aluminum pipelines running up here to the south. Here's another run of parallel aluminum piping. You can see at every gasket, basically there's a leak and some vegetation growing. So been quite a headache out there. Some of the keynotes that we discussed at the committee level, the agency has spent over $1 million in this temporary aluminum pipe. That's only going to increase with cost, as well as continue to need replacement on about a 6 to 10 year basis. So over time, these permanent improvements are, like most of our pipelines have been around for quite some time and are expected to have, a 50 plus year lifespan. So over the time, this investment is really going to pay off. This investment also is just stepping away from really the monetary side, but will improve the reliability of the banking operation. So it'll ensure that the basins don't need to be taken out of service for maintenance reasons. So we won't need to take a basin out of service just to replace, a length of aluminum pipe that is no longer usable, has sprung leaks all over, or to break the pipes apart to replace the gaskets before putting them back together. So that goes a long way towards sort of the reliability of that water bank. And the question came up about what are we going to do with the existing aluminum pipe that's out there? And the current plan was to stockpile that aluminum pipe in the yard out there. And the committee brought up a good point that we can probably sell some of that surplus pipe. Some pieces of that pipe will still be necessary, very short lengths to get water into some of the northern recharge basins, but the majority of that pipe will be out of service. And if it's in good condition, we can certainly look into selling that pipe to recoup some of that original expenditure. So this is what I just showed you of the previous improvements. The current permanent recharge pipelines would come in like this in red. So it would get water to all of those areas that you see currently. And some of these areas are not actually currently being fed. So it actually would not necessarily expand the overall capacity of the water bank, but definitely allow us to bank in different areas. The scope of work of the construction project, it's going to be installation of about 1,200 linear feet of steel pipe, ranging in diameter from 16 to 30 inches, and installation of about 7,400 feet of PVC pipe, ranging from 8 to 14 inches, and the installation of 14 what we call branch feeder assemblies, which are the assemblies that would discharge the water into the recharge ponds. Total contract duration is 40 weeks, limited to 20 weeks of actual construction work in the field. So the first half of the contract will be getting together contract documents and bonding, as well as having the contractor provide us with submittals for the materials they intend to use and shop drawings, et cetera. There's a lot of work that needs to be done before they can actually mobilize into the field. But the 20-week duration in the field is limited in the contract, so that limits our expenses when they're actually working in the field. The process that we went through to advertise this construction project, we advertised for bids on March 1st, 2021, and those bids were opened on March 31st, 2021. We had a lot of action on this particular project. We had 10 contractors submit bids, so there was good participation. And this is what the bids came in looking like. Top to bottom is high to low. Nicholas Construction out of Shafter had the low bid at $4.650 million. And that was just a little bit higher than the engineer's estimate of $4 million. We did include $4.5 million in the current capital budget for this project. So it's a little bit over what we had budgeted, but since all capital projects are spent out of reserves, we would recommend that we spend that additional overage out of the reserves as well. So the committee and staff's recommendation would be to award to Nicholas Construction. We looked into them. You know, they're actually pretty well known by us. They do hold a current and active Class A general engineering contractor's license, and they've previously completed several projects for the agency, but specifically associated with the West Side Water Bank, they completed the original WSS P2 turnout, as well as the SNP connector pipeline and the original recovery pipelines for the first 9 wells. They've done good work for us in the past. We've always been happy with the outcome of the project. And so with that, the committee and staff would recommend awarding to Nicholas Construction for the low bid amount of $4,650,584. And I'd be happy to answer any remaining questions that you have.
This is Shelley. Who was the engineer that did the estimate?
MC Engineering. We hired them to do the design of the pipelines.
And how long ago did they give us that estimate?
That estimate's about 3 months before the project went out to bid. And in looking closely at that estimate, the miss was on a low estimate on the price per linear foot of the steel pipe.
Well, and that might be a moving target a bit right now with the way things are.
Yeah, and that's the feedback that we got from contractors as well when we were bidding the project.
And then Nicholas Construction, when they've done work for us in the past, we didn't have any problems with them. How did they do on the timing? Did they perform to the time frame they had originally said they could?
Yeah, within reason. I didn't go back and look at that specifically on each of the contracts that they've done for us, but just looking back at the contracts that they've completed for us, we've been extremely happy with their work. You know, they did East Side Water Bank expansion as well for us recently, which came out really well. Once all
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. You're welcome.
Is this above and beyond what we're already doing, or their aluminum pipe at this time with its surface?
I can't hear him.
Director Lane is asking if this project would serve the same purpose as the aluminum pipe. Is that right? Yes, sir. This project would replace that aluminum system. So we would no longer need those.
We're already serving the purpose, the aluminum pipe.
Yes, we're already banking in those areas with the aluminum pipe.
Any more questions for Justin?
This is Frank.
Yeah, this director.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Go ahead, Frank.
No, you.
Yeah, this director Van Dam. I was wondering, when was this project supposed to start if they get the bid?
If the board approves it tonight, we would issue notice of award tomorrow, and that would, pretty much begin the clock ticking. They would submit all their contract documents and bonding information, and once that was all approved and by legal, then we could issue the notice to proceed shortly thereafter. So I'm thinking notice to proceed would be issued within the next week or two. So,
okay, because the way material's going up, it's just unbelievable. About every 30 days, they need to resubmit a bid.
Yeah, we heard about that from a supplier asking about a pre-purchase agreement, but with the timing of when the bids came in and being able to get a committee meeting together and here tonight in front of the board, there wasn't going to be much savings in the way of going that route in holding their price. So this is expedient.
Well, this is going to be fund. The source of the money is where?
Director Lane's asking the source of the money. This is built into our rate study. This project was built into our rate study for our capital improvement program and was budgeted for in the capital budget for this year.
Does that come from water sales or taxes or?
We can't hear Director Lane. He needs to come up to the dais, please.
I'm going to try to restate the questions for Director Lane, if you don't mind. He's asking if the money for this is coming from the water rates or taxes or other fees. Was that your question?
What source?
Yeah, water rates. Water rates. Water rates.
Any more questions for Justin? Hearing none, could we have a motion?
Yeah, this is Frank. I'll go ahead and make a motion on 6C1 that we award the contract to Nicholas Construction for the amount of $4,650,584.
This is Director Miller. I'll second.
Any more discussion?
I want to say one more thing because George, hasn't. George, this committee went through it like a fine-tooth comb. I was very apprehensive at first until they told me the staff said that we spent over $1 million on patch jobs and leaky gaskets. It's time now since we're going for. Oh, there was another thing, Justin. Did you mention about Willow Springs Water Agency that they participate in this $4 million?
Yeah, I had a slide recapping that. But yeah, their investment in the project of $11.1 million and recent payment of $2.8 million to close out that balance.
Yeah, but they just gave us 2.8, didn't they?
Right. Yeah.
Okay.
Roll call vote, please.
Gary Van Dam,
Yes.
Audrey Miller,
Yes.
Robert Paris,
Yes.
George Lane, Shelley Sorsable,
Yes.
Frank Donato,
Yes.
Keith Dias.
Yes, the measure passes. Excellent presentation, Justin. Thank you.
Yes, it was very good. I heard it twice now. Excellent job. Excellent job.
It's nearly 2 more.
Okay, so we're on 6C2. Justin, go ahead and start on that one.
Sounds good. Thank you. So the next 2 items actually are related to this construction project and the services that we're going to need to support that construction. So during construction of this pipeline project, the agency will need a daily presence in the field for construction management to ensure the project is built in accordance with the plans and specifications, perform inspections of the work, coordinate and provide geotechnical testing, attend the progress meetings, and ensure that progress payments accurately reflect the work completed in the field. And so for these services, staff solicited proposals. Reached out to 4 different firms. You can see them listed here in the table. Provost and Pritchard and Water Systems Consulting declined to provide a proposal. Crollo Engineers provided a proposal in the amount of $236,550, and MC Engineering provided a proposal in the amount of $193,182.50. So pretty straightforward. The recommendation from the committee and staff would be to award this construction management contract to MC Engineering in the not to exceed amount of $193,182.50. And I'd be happy to answer any questions on this.
This is Shelley. I was under the impression that we were going to be doing this ourselves, and that's why we put together our engineering department.
Yeah, the engineering department, consists of myself and one other person. There's no current level of staffing that would allow us to maintain a presence in the field for the entire duration of this construction project. So at this time, we still would need to sub out these services.
Any more questions? Could we have a motion, please?
I move on 6, Frank, I'll move on 6C2 that we, in the amount not to exceed $193,182.50.
Do we have a second?
This is Director Miller. I'll second.
Thank you. Roll call vote, please.
Gary Van Dam,
Yes.
Audrey Miller,
Yes.
Robert Parris,
Yes.
George Lane,
Yes.
Shelley Sourceable,
Yes.
Frank Donato,
Yes.
Keith Dyer.
Yes, measure carried. Thank you. Next item.
Yes, I would like to make a comment, Board President Dias, if that's appropriate, to
Sure.
answer Director Sorsable's question. I would want to make note that this is the first project that AVEC has advertised and put out to bid, where this was always done by a consultant previously. And as the agency's workload will dictate that we have a full-time construction presence where we're building all of the time, there may be a need for those types of construction management services on an ongoing basis, because at the present time we're kind of hit and miss with regards to having a full-time staffer on site or on staff to be able to utilize that person effectively. But as soon as that becomes a case, then we would request the addition of that staff.
Thank you very much.
If Director Donato doesn't mind, I'll move us on to item 6C3, the last project related to the construction of this pipeline, which is consideration and possible action on amendment number 2 with MC Engineering for office engineering services during construction for the West Side Water Bank Recharge Pipeline Improvement Project. So we just discussed the services that will be needed in the field, monitoring actual construction work. But in addition to that, we need some office engineering support from the design engineer, and that would consist of reviewing and approving material submittals to ensure they match the specifications, review and approve shop drawings provided by the contractor, respond to any design clarifications that may come up, and respond to any requests for information from the contractor regarding the way the project's intended to be built. MC Engineering, this work is an extension really of the existing design services that they've provided. And so they gave us a proposal to provide these services on the back end of their existing contract for $68,680.50, which staff finds to be reasonable and appropriate for this particular project. The committee asked that we do reach out to legal counsel to ensure that, going with MC Engineering without acquiring additional proposals is okay in this instance. And I did reach out to Attorney Kim, and he actually mentioned that a lot of agencies will front load this on the design contract and include it originally, where we're choosing to just add this on as an amendment on the back end, and he saw no issue with this. So with that, the committee and staff would recommend amending MC Engineering's current contract to add these office engineering services for the not to exceed amount of $68,680.50. I'd be happy to answer any questions you may have.
If there are no questions, could we have a motion, please?
Okay, this is Frank. I'll move on 6C3 for $68,680.50.
Mr. President, this is Rob. I'll second that motion.
Thank you, Rob. Any more discussion? Roll call vote, please.
Gary Van Dam,
Yes.
Audrey Miller,
Yes.
Robert Paris,
Yes.
George Lane,
Yes.
Shelley Sorsable,
Yes.
Frank Nato,
Yes.
Keith Dias.
Yes, the measure passed. Thank you very much, Justin.
Thank you.
That concludes my report. Thank you.
Thank you, Director Donato. Item 7, General Manager's Report. Mr. Chisholm?
Yes, this is the report for April 13th, 2021. The map here shows that we're very dry and will continue to be dry for the next several weeks. Most of our water is slowing down for the season. As you can see by this map here, this is April. Let's see if I can get this thing to move. There it is. You can see we're at 0 in April, and you can see that it really tails off in May, June, and July. So we're not anticipating any significant additional precipitation coming from the Northern Sierra, which is above Lake Orville. And you can see from these diagrams that I show you on a regular basis, we're currently at this level right here, which is 22.4 inches of rainfall. Where'd it go? There it is. You can see 19 inches was the driest. So, and even in this is 1920, we were at 2019, 2020, we were at 31 inches. So very, very dry year. And all this rainfall data comes from these points here are monitoring stations that they have in the north. Reservoir-wise, you can see our reservoirs correspond to the dryness. We're at 59% of average in San Luis and 54% in Lake Orville. We have about a 42% capacity in Lake Orville right now. Once again, you can see graphically, this is the average amount that you would see. And then these are the 2 driest years in red. And you can see we're tracking right along those very, very dry years. Same thing here for San Luis Reservoir. With regards to our, because we have a very low allocation, you can see that our port silt treatment plant is running about 10 to 12 million gallons a day. East side, we got 1.3 million gallons a day, and then we got about 1.5 million or so going to the Acton treatment plant. On the as far as the purification sites and recovery wells, you can see we got about 1.5 million going on the east side program, and this is where those west side water bank is providing us the flow at 17.6 million gallons a day. So you can see we're averaging between 18 and 20 million gallons a day coming from those sources, including the bench ranch. As you can see, we're completely off with regards to recharge, and we'll continue to be off for the balance of the year. As far as water quality updates go, first is turning our AVEC facilities this week. As far as COVID-19 goes, we've been fortunate. We're continuing our protocols. We have no new confirmed cases. I'm happy to report that we did receive an insurance premium refund of $65,479.84. It's similar to what we've had in the last few years. Also wanted to make you aware that the SNP Phase 2 project was recently included in the list of shovel-ready projects. We had a request early last week to submit projects that were shovel-ready. This letter from the state water contractors was submitted to the Senate President Pro Tem, Tony Atkins, and they're looking for a list of projects that they can earmark for funding out of the state budget, and so that they can try and provide relief for that. And here's the materials that were included, and this is the letter here. As far as events and schedules, we have the Water Master meeting coming up on 4/28, and we have the virtual spring conference for Aqua in May 12th through the 13th and Memorial Day. My schedule is I'll be in the office with the exception of Friday and Monday of this week. And other than that, I'll be here and happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Are there any questions for our general manager? Thank you, Dwayne. Item 8, directors' reports. Do any of our directors have a report for the board? Hearing none, we'll move along to item 9, attorney's report.
Nothing to report, President Nice.
Thank you. Item 10, any requests for future agenda items?
Keith, this is George. It may be time for the agency to start thinking about when we meet in person. And I don't know if that would be through an ad hoc committee or through the staff, but things are changing, and you might want to come up with the guidelines when and where and if we would start back. And the state's supposed to open up, supposedly in mid-June. So it's probably time to start having those discussions. And how we go about it, I'm not sure, but that might be a future agenda item, or like you say, or like suggest an ad hoc committee.
That's a good idea, George. The sooner we can open up, the better. We should start discussing that. Thank you. Anything else? Is there any item in closed session we need to discuss tonight?
Yes, we have two items, B and C.
Okay, do I have a motion to go into closed session for items 11B and 11C?
This is Shelley. I'll make that motion.
Thank you.
This is Director Miller. I'll second.
Thank you. Roll call vote, please.
Gary Van Dam,
Yes.
Audrey Miller,
Yes.
Robert Paris,
Yes.
George Lane, Shelley Sourceable,
Yes.
Frank Donato,
Yes.
Keith Dias.
Yes. Okay, we'll go into closed session as soon as Holly can switch us over.
Okay, stand by.